Started. Looks like 2:05, so I'm going to send my screen over to you guys. And then I'm going to start with just a quick background so you understand some of the terms I'm using as we go through the demo. All right, sending my screen across now. All right, so guys, this is the dashboard. This is what you're going to see when you log into your account. In the background, I want to share with you guys first. We like to share that this is something that came organically out of the industry. Jake Liu, our CEO, is an appraiser. He's been an appraiser for about 13 years, and he actually sits on the board here in Michigan, where we're based. And Jake's story is one that I just hear dozens of times throughout the week. He was trained on one of the legacy software products, didn't really love it from the beginning, but that's what his supervisor used. That was the industry standard, so that's what he went with. In Aivre, you're seeing an appraiser able to address a lot of the bottlenecks and frustrations they had with their own workflow, while also bringing in some new technology like AI just to speed the process up, especially in light of the mandate for 3.6. And we've been collecting feedback from you guys the entire time. We've had focus groups from day one. And a couple things about us. We're a zero data retention company. That's just not something we do. We're also not owned by like 5 companies above us, so we can move quick. And when we get requests from our users for something they want to see, our only goal is to make a good appraisal platform. So a lot of those get added, and we're adding new things almost on a weekly basis right now, which is really exciting. But jumping back into the platform, some of the things that we've built out of that feedback process, we built a mobile app for inspections. That's called Aivre Mobile. That's on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. We also built that market trend analysis tool called Aivre Analytics, and then within that, the adjustment support tool, Aivre Adjuster. So those are some of the main components of the ecosystem. I also mentioned our subscription tiers. So we have 3 different tiers of subscription. What you guys are going to see today is Aivre Ultra, and that's also the top tier and the version that's free for the remainder of the year. In the middle, we have Aivre Vision, and then the base tier is called Aivre Core. But you guys have to think about our tiers a little bit differently. It's not like we start with Aivre Ultra and then we just strip features until we get down to Aivre Core. Almost every feature that is available to you in Aivre Ultra is also in Aivre Core. What differentiates the price between the subscriptions is how much AI that we're applying when we do the autofill process from the beginning. So you can think of Core, our base tier, basically being like the next step up from what a lot of the legacy providers are selling right now with their top tier. Their manual data entry, so is Aivre Core, but that's where the similarities kind of end because Aivre Core is modern, web-based, intuitive. You have a lot of built-in features. We're just not actually autofilling the report at that level. Then when you get to the middle level, Aivre Vision, that's where we're automating from your inspection photos and assignment documents. And assignment documents can be things like an engagement letter and a sales contract. The AI can do character identification. So it's going to read those documents, populate that information into the report for you. And then when we move up to Ultra, and again, that's the version I'm going to be showing today, that is those 2 sources, so photos and documents, plus public record and MLS. So that's really it. The main difference is you're either automating from 4 sources, 2 sources, or 0 sources. All right, so main background I wanted to cover with you guys now. Let's get into the actual demo and look at the platform. So again, this is the dashboard. This is what you're going to see when you log into your account. You have a couple tracking metrics up here at the top for the reports that I'm working on. And then these are all the reports tied to my profile right here. I'm going to show you down at the bottom, we have an area for organizations and then a comparables database. Now, the organizations area can be accessed from this tab up here in the top left. Right now, I'm viewing this as my organizational view. I can switch that, I'm viewing it as my personal view. I can switch that to an organizational view. So I'm going to click on Aivre Test Org. This is an organization that was created by Jordan Lesson, our CTO. He then invited me to it as a trainee. And this is what it looks like when you're working as a team on Aivre. And the nice thing about us is that we are fully web-based. That makes working as a team so much simpler. There's no software actually downloaded to anybody's computer. You're not tied by license to any specific device for inspection. We're also platform agnostic, and that means you can use Mac, PC, Apple, Android, really doesn't matter to us. And we're auto-saving every couple of seconds. So this allows our users to kind of pick up and put down the reporting process at any stage, and in the case of an organization, between any member of that org, right? But even for those of you that are single appraisers or individual appraisers, it is very nice not to be tied to a single workstation, right? Let's say you're away from your desk, God forbid you're on vacation or something like that, and you get a revision. You just go to aivre.com, you have your full software available to you, all of your work file data, you handle the revision and get back to your life, right? And before we actually go into create new, I'm going to show you guys some of the support features we have up here in the top ribbon. So first, I'm going to take you to the main support page. And this is where you can join the Slack community. When you create a new account with us, it's going to prompt you to go to your profile, fill that information out, and I'm going to take everybody who hangs out after Q&A through that process. But you'll also be prompted to join the Slack channel, and this is the main way to get live support. So our actual staff, human beings, are on the other end of that. We answer your questions live as they come in, but if you're stuck, what's nice about Slack is we can share screens on there so we can visually see the issue and help you address it. And then if we go to support and then resources, we have a lot of useful guides in here. Some of these are 3.6 in general. Some of them are more Aivre specific. But we have like the photos and images guide. This is the CSV guide, which shows you the 10 required, 9 recommended, and 11 optional fields that we automate from your MLS into Aivre Analytics. And then the last thing I wanted to point out here is the F1 appendix. So this is that big guide from the GSEs for the 3.6 report, and that lives on the platform as well. Next, I'm going to take you guys to how-to. This is a video tutorial library. So you have built-in filters right here you can scroll through if you want to see something on analytics or UAD reporting. And then beyond here, you can actually click watch on YouTube. And we have a YouTube channel that's called Aivre Studios. We have even more videos on there, and we're going to be updating this area continuously as we continue building towards mandate. So just keep an eye on that. And then last thing I want to show you up here at the top, this is the Help Center, and this is kind of all our support material aggregated in one place. So if I was curious about Sketch, I can type in Sketch, and it's going to show me all the content we have for that topic. All right, great. So let's go to Create New. That's up here in the top right. And this will bring me to my full menu of products. And I want to show you two at the top. I'm creating this as an individual right now. If I wanted to have this immediately go to the organization, I could create it as an organizational report as well. You can always assign it to the org later on, but you can also do this to start it or to have the report there just from the beginning. So getting to the actual products, we have the full 3.6 report. This is the restricted and completion reports. We also have Aivre Analytics right here. So that can be ran as a standalone module or launched from within a report that you're already working on. And for those of you that are going to be testing, I recommend launching it from within a report that you're working on because that will automatically select the subject property of that report. Otherwise, you'll have to enter that manually, which is not a big deal, but just something to consider as you're working through. Then right here, we have the general purpose form. So GPAR for non-lender use. This is based on the 3.6 report. It's automated the same way, but obviously there's no requirements for content as that's up to the assignment parameters. Okay, so I just clicked on 3.6 report. I'm going to take you guys through the setup steps. There's 5 setup steps, and there are 3 main workflows that you can set up when you're setting up these reports. So for those of you that like to start at the desk, go do the inspection and then come back. Totally fine to do that with us. You just want to make sure that this toggle for AI autofill is in the off position when you're creating this on your computer. That lets you open up the report, do any manual work you want to do ahead of time. You'll go out, do the inspection, and you'll see that report listed on Aivre Mobile. So you'll click on it, take your photos, do your sketch. When you get back to the computer, it'll prompt you, are you ready to autofill? And then you run the automation from there. The other way to do it is that you can start right on the mobile app. So you can go to the site, you can pull up Aivre Mobile, put in 123 Main Street. That creates the report and the work file. Take your photos, do your sketch. When you get back to the computer, that report will be listed right here on your dashboard. So that report you created in the field will be listed here. You'll click on that, run the automation from there. And then the third way, and this is the way that I'm going to demonstrate today, is I already did the inspection. I just didn't use Aivre Mobile. So I have all the inspection photos and documents on my computer, and I'm ready to autofill at this time. So I'm going to turn on AI autofill. I'm going to put in the subject property address. And this is a property here in Troy, Michigan, where we're based. And then I want to show you, you have 2 drop-down menus right here. So one for templates and one for client and non-client contacts. Excuse me. Templates can be created from any completed report. So if I did like a waterfront property, I could save that as waterfront property template, and it'll appear here in the drop-down the next time that I start a new assignment. I can also select a report from my history and just use that as a starting point. And then client and non-client contacts, this is kind of like your digital Rolodex. So saving the contact info of a lot of the entities you interact with professionally. That can be AMCs, lenders, attorneys, etc. But this is going to be kind of a backup system if you're one of our users that is on Vision or Ultra, because we're able to pull a lot of that from the engagement letter for each new assignment that we start. Okay, I'm going to click Create the Order. And if I had additional dwellings or outbuildings, I could add them here on this next step. So outbuildings being barns, workshops, ADUs, things like that. I don't for this property, so I'm good to continue. And then this is where I'm going to bring in the photos. So like I mentioned, if I had done this with the mobile app, photos would already be up here, but you don't have to use the mobile app. So I'm going to click here. It's going to pull open my file explorer. I have 28 inspection photos. I'm going to bring them all in at once. All right. So I'm missing one of the photos. I'm just going to run it without, guys. Just bear with me here. So the front photo in that file looks like it got deleted. It's still going to run. Just if you're noticing the front photo looks different, that's a Brad error, not an Aivre error. All right. Next step right here. This is where we can add documents. And so sales contract and engagement letter. And again, AI is going to do character identification. So it's going to go through these documents. It's going to find the relevant information, and it's going to populate it into the report for you. You'll notice that I'm not going to add an MLS listing ticket or a public record PRD. Reason I'm not adding those documents is I'm on Aivre Ultra. On Aivre Ultra, we go to those two sources automatically. And that is the big difference between Ultra and Vision. Ultra does go to public record and MLS, Vision does not. So if I was running this on Vision, I could add these two documents down here. That would supplement some of the automation loss between those two tiers. And then this is the last setup step. And to me, this is the coolest thing that we do. I also think it's one of the most powerful parts of Aivre. That's using a technology that's generally known as computer vision to actually extract data from your inspection photos. First, what it's doing right now, it's analyzing your photos. It's going to break down the structure of the property. So we're going to see the exterior photos disappear because they're being mapped into the report. The AI is going to go through and it's going to do its best to break down the interior of the property. You, as the appraiser, will go through and confirm. And when you confirm that structure, that launches the automation. And computer vision, it's an umbrella term. So there's a lot of tech that takes advantage of computer vision. Self-driving vehicles recently really pushed that technology, a way that an AI and a camera can tell the car what it's seeing in the roadway. So this is similar, right? But it's just trained on property data. So it looks at your photos. It'll know whether it's a kitchen, living room, dining room. It'll pull out construction materials, and that can be countertops, cabinets, flooring, things like that. It will assign a fully editable condition and quality rating to your exterior kitchens and bathrooms, and also note deferred maintenance and appliances. And all of that happens in about 3 to 5 minutes for a standard single family home like this. I'm usually getting about 220 fields filled out in this report just from the photos alone. That being said, we're not making an AVM, right? You're still in full control and you still want to go through and verify just like you normally would. You can also change anything if you kind of disagree. And I can show you this first photo, number 6, just an empty first floor room. So the AI didn't have a lot to go on when making its decision. It called it a living room. If me as the appraiser thinks this is actually a den, I just click on that living room tag, switch it to den. And then the third one is the name label. That can be anything that I want, and I'll just call it den. And then you'll notice I added a number to the end of the name label. We use the numbers to differentiate when you have multiple photos of the same room or multiple photos of the same or multiple rooms of the same type on a property. So what I mean by that, if you look here at 11, 12, and 13, these are all the same half bath, right? So they're all named bath half 1. So if I had a second half bath on this property, I would name any photos for that room bath half 2. And that just splits up those two rooms when it's setting up the structure. So I'm just going to scroll through quickly, make sure it looks all right. And then when you are ready, you'll confirm your levels. And that's it. That's the whole setup process on Ultra. And now we're automating. Okay. So the AI is going through public records, MLS documents, and photos. And it's just going to populate as much of this report for me as it can before I open it up, change anything I want to change, and do manual data entry to complete the report. If I was doing this on Aivre Vision, it would just be going through documents and photos. And then again, Aivre Core is not automated. So you would just open the report, start doing manual data entry like you normally would. And I'm going to let this run, guys. It takes about 3 to 5 minutes. While that's running, I'm going to go to another screen here and pull open another report. And I want to take you guys down to the sales comparison approach section, because this is where we're seeing a lot of the time loss between the 2.6 and 3.6 report is the comps. And the reason is the potential number of fields that need to be filled out for each comp are extensive. It's a lot more than was involved in comps for 2.6. So I'm going to show you guys how to bring these in from your MLS using CSV or TSV files. So the scenario here is I went to my MLS. I selected 3 properties that I knew I wanted to use as comps. I exported those 3 properties as a CSV file. Now I'm going to go into Aivre. I'm going to click Add Comparable, Import from CSV TSV. It pops open this window, and you guys will see when I click there, it opens my file explorer. I have this CSV file that I'm going to drop in that area, and it has 3 rows, right? So then I'm going to click Analyze. And now the AI is going to go through this document. It's going to disambiguate any differences in naming conventions. And what I mean by that, if your MLS calls something sale price and we call it close price, the AI is going to do its best to figure that out. And it's just going to create 3 comps for me and put them right in the grid. So when I took you guys up to support, you notice that there was a CSV guide in there that shows you the 30 main fields that we utilize in Aivre Analytics. But in this section, we can populate up to 73. So my advice would just be, the more of these fields that are on the grid that you can add to that export, the more we can read in. So I'm going to click Apply Fields down here, and it's just going to put 3 comps in the grid for me side by side. All right, now that these are in the grid, you do have to add a photo. The good news is in-person comp photos are no longer a 3.6 requirement, at least from the GSE side. So you could just click and drag a photo right here. This area will accept HEIC, WebP, JPEG, PNG, so pretty much any photo format. And then when you want to save these, you click on the gear icon, click Save to Database. That will allow me to save it to my database individually or to share it across any of the organizations I'm a member of. And you'll notice that I'm a member of multiple organizations. The reason for that is these are not tied to company accounts. Even if you're a solo appraiser, you can create an organization. And the scenario there is we know a lot of appraisers, small industry, right? So you might not work for the same company, but you probably know each other in the same town. If you're friendly and you're both Aivre users, you can create a database or an organization, share comps across that database. So that's why you see me being a member of multiple. And I'll show you here. So the system just runs really smoothly, guys. Being a web-based software has a lot of advantages. I can click and drag, reorder those very smoothly. I can batch, select, and remove. Now let's go back up here to add comparable. And this time I'm going to select import from database. I'll see all my saved comps right here. I can tab over to organizations, see any of the comps I've shared across my orgs. And we have all these filters. And some of these were just added based on your feedback. So again, we're adding new things based on user experience all the time. You can filter by dwelling style, structure, design, area. So that's above and below, finished and unfinished, and whether there's a body of water in play for that property. I'm just going to select these first 3. Click load, and it's going to put those right in the grid for me. Now, one more thing before I scroll down here, I want to show you guys that we have the ability to clone these, and in certain assignment scenarios, it might be faster to go that route. So I can click on the gear right here. I can click duplicate comparable, and that will create a clone, essentially. It strips the photo, strips the address, but keeps the rest of the fields the same. And I can do the same thing for my subject property. So you see you have the copy button right there. If I click on copy, it's just going to put a comp version of my subject property here in the grid. All right, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom now. And right here in the sales comparison approach reconciliation area, this is where we have commentary fill assist. And this is the one feature that is not on core, that is on Vision and Ultra, and that's the ability to prompt the AI. So I can click there, I can create any kind of text, this actually will make really, really nice sounding text, even if you don't do a great blurb. But you can put in what you want to see in the reconciliation. It's going to format that, make a really nice text output, and put that into this field right here. And it's going to look something like this. But after the AI is done generating, I can edit, right? So I can delete anything, change anything. You're never locked into any decision the computer makes. And then if I want to save this to my commentary database, I click on this little floppy disk icon right there. So save to field library. Now that's added to my commentary database. And that is available on all 3 tiers. So core, you can save your comments as well. It's just generating that is Vision and Ultra only. Okay, and then down here, we have the sales comparison map and aerial map. Aerial map just has satellite imagery versus a map view. This will pull the label of the properties from your grid. You can arrange the labels by clicking and dragging and then save that exhibit to this section. All right, next I'm going to take you guys to the right side toolbar. And as you're testing out the platform, keep this in mind because a lot of the most important tools we have are nested over here on the right. First one is the work file. So that cloud icon brings you to your work file. You can see that all the files and photos added during setup were added here automatically. And we're USPAP compliant. So you will be able to, we'll store this for free for 5 years on the platform. If you want to hold on to any of the work file data beyond 5 years, you can export the entire work file as a zip, or you can individually download any of the items in there. Okay, next is the report images pane, and this is another one of those feedback examples. About 9 weeks ago, we were getting recommendations to have an area you could see all of the photos in the report in one place, so you don't have to search through the work file. And 4 weeks later, it was on the user-facing site, and that's what this is. So you can see that these tabs here kind of correspond to the table of contents on the left, and I can open up any of these tabs, see what photos are being used in that section. If I hover over it, I can click on the pencil, and that's going to open up my photo editing tools. So I have crop, blur, brush, draw, highlight, brightness, everything in one place. And then next is Ava. So Ava is the AI agent that you can use to be kind of your assistant while you're working through these reports. You can prompt Ava anywhere you see the blue star. So I'm going to click on this one in reconciliation and hit send. And this is not an open web search. So the reason that people get so much utility out of Ava is this isn't like going to Chat GPT, where we might get a nice answer, but we don't really know what the source of that answer is, right? This isn't like that. We trained Ava specifically on the F1 reference guide. So you're not going to hear from Steve on Reddit. You're going to hear directly from the GSEs on what you need for your report. So I prompted it for reconciliation. It gave me all this information on that section. And then it's going to give me page numbers as well. And remember, if you go to support and resources, the full guide lives on the platform. So I can go verify without ever having to leave the site. And you can ask open-ended questions as well. So let's say, what is the definition of deep water for access depth? And this is something new they're asking when you add a body of water as a site influence. Is it deep, shallow, non-navigable, or other? What does deep mean? Is that 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet, right? So I can ask that question and boom, I get my answer. Okay, it's actually 4 feet or deeper, so they can use recreational watercraft on that site. So I get a ton of utility out of Ava, and whether you've been doing this for 30 days or 30 years, everyone's going to be doing their first 3.6 reports at some point. So having this pre-trained agent is an excellent resource for structure and content questions. Okay, next two tools are what we use to ensure report completion. That is the report validation tool and the UAD compliance checker. These will reduce your exposure to revisions. And basically what this does is create an error tag for any required field in my 3.6 report that has not yet been filled out. And I can click on this. So if we look right here, non-residential use exists. I click there, it's going to jump me right to where that is in the report, and I'll see it highlighted in red. I will also see in the table of contents these red numbers, which indicate how many required fields are left in that section. But I want everyone to watch over here on the right side, because as I make a selection, that tag is going to disappear, right? And that error number goes down by 1. So I can click on the next one. Next one is hazard zone. I don't have one in this area. That tag disappears. Any defects, damages, or deficiencies, I do not have any. Last one looks like it's apparent environmental conditions, and I do not have any in this neighborhood either, or this site. So I'll select none. Now that section is complete. So once you go through all these tags and you have no errors left, you know you filled out everything required, you'll go to the UAD compliance checker and validate your report against the UAD spec. When you pass validation, you'll be able to come down here to export and export your report as a zip file. And that's the deliverable. So that has the PDF, XML, and all your images. But if you guys watch, I'll try to click there. It's going to give me this error saying I can't export until I pass validation. So it's actually kind of difficult to submit an incomplete report through our platform. In the long run, that's a good thing. That's just less revisions coming back to you. That being said, you do have the printable report option. So I can click there at any time. That's going to put a PDF up in my downloads. So if you want to see what the output is going to look like, even if you haven't passed validation, you always have this option available. And I can scroll through and see what the report is going to look like, even though I haven't finished yet. And I want to show you guys in the appraiser section right here. So my name, company address, my credentials as a trainee in the state of Michigan, as well as an image of my trainee credential. That will populate every new report that I start from the profile. So no more manually typing in your own information over and over again. You can access the profile up here. It's a B for Brad. It'll be one of your initials or both of them. Go up here, select your profile. And this is where I add all this information. And like I mentioned before, if you create a new account with us, you'll be prompted to fill this out from the beginning, and I would recommend doing so. But this is my company name, company address. There's my trainee credential, contacts. And for both contacts and templates, you have personal and organizational. So shared, and then ones that are just saved to your profile. You can add your insurance policy right here. And then if you're running Ultra, this is where you link your MLS board or board. So you can have multiple boards and have them all run at the same time. I use real comp, so it's just board name, MLS number. Some MLS call it MLS ID. It's just the numeric identifier that you're a member of that MLS, not email and password or anything like that. So again, templates, organizational and personal. And then last thing I want to show you down here is the digital signature. So if I click here, you can type it, you can draw your signature, you can also upload an image. All right, let's get back into the report. So next is Aivre Analytics, and I'm going to take you guys there in just 1 minute. This is an invoicing feature, so it'll populate based on your profile as well as the assignment information. If I click generate invoice, it's going to create this nice looking PDF invoice I can submit. And then last thing I want to show you on the sidebar is the headphones icon. That's just another way to join the Slack channel. So if you have questions while you're in an open report, you can submit questions to Slack. But if you're having a technical issue, something's freezing or crashing or something like that, I will tell you, not a problem we have experience at all. It's running very smoothly on the web. But if something comes up, you can flag that issue right here. But we also have feature requests. So like I've mentioned, we've built a lot of these things based on feedback from you guys. If there's something that you want to see added, feel free to send in one of those tickets. All right, so next I'm going to take you to the market section. And this is a good way to segue into analytics. So this is essentially the 1004 MC. It's a lot of the same information. It's just a section of the report now instead of a separate form. And we're going to be able to use analytics to populate this in just a couple minutes. So you can prompt analytics from right here. I can also always prompt it from the sidebar. And it's going to ask me to bring in another CSV or TSV file. This CSV, I went to my MLS. I selected a 2-mile radius, 3-year look back period, and just brought in a bunch of listings of all statuses. I think I have about 400. Now, the first time you bring a CSV or a TSV into analytics, you want to select autofill with AI. Because you can see over here, I only have 6 out of 10 required and 6 out of 9 recommended fields mapped. And again, that's just naming conventions, right? So if your MLS calls a column one thing, your software calls it something else, that breaks the connection. And in the past, you would have to modify those to make sure that they matched perfectly. With us, because we're an AI-enabled platform, the AI can actually do some of that disambiguation for you. So it's going to go through, do its best job to match everything up. And you can see that finished running. Now I have 10 out of 10, 9 out of 9, so I'm ready to go. But let's just say I ran the autofill and one of the fields didn't get mapped, right? So I see that I only have 9 out of 10. I look up at this warning. I can see that it's for close price. So I'm going to go over here to my field mappings. And this is the Aivre columns right here. So I'm going to go down and find close price. There it is. And then these are the columns from my CSV. And I can see that it's not mapped. So I'm going to click there. And I know that my column for close price is actually called sale price. So I click on that. There it is. Now I'm back to 10 out of 10. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If there's a lot of changes, that's going to be annoying to do each time. And I agree with you. That's why you don't have to do it each time. Once you fix that initial mapping, you will go over here to save mapping. Save that after the name of your MLS, some combination of that in your name. And then next time you bring in a CSV from that source, you're going to go here to load mapping, and you will select that mapping, and it will instantly sync all the fields. All right, I'm going to hit continue. And this is what I was mentioning before. Since I launched this from within a 3.6 report, my subject property was selected automatically. All right, I'm going to hit save and continue. All these listings are going to come into analytics, and they're all going to be plotted on a map for me. Now that they're in analytics, let's draw a market area. So I'm going to scroll down here. And generally, when navigating analytics, the export features are up here in gray for interacting with your 3.6 order. When you're actually doing functions within analytics, most of those tools are in blue down here. So I'm going to click Draw Market Area. And if we want to focus mostly on the east side of Woodward Avenue, I'll just draw this polygon around that area. And it's a basic polygon tool. You just click and drop points, double click to close the shape, save the market area under any name you would like, and then it's going to prompt you to filter. So I'm not going to filter in too much detail since we're getting through the demo. I'm just going to filter for sold. I just want to let you guys know that because my numbers might look a little funny since I'm not really doing any filtering. Just remember, I'm showing you how to do this. Don't worry about the numbers too much. I'm going to go up here to save to report and apply. And it's subset all those listings based on the geographic area I drew and any filters that I put in place. From here, I'm going to go to table view, and I'm going to add those filtered listings to my comp set. We'll see them turn green. And then the subject property is going to be pinned to the top row. So as you scroll down, you can compare all those field values. You can also sort by any of these column headers. So when I sort by close price, let's say, I had 2 properties above 4 million that snuck through my filters. Those would be outliers, right? And I would want to get rid of those. I could select them from over here, click remove from comp set, and now they will no longer be included in that analysis. All right, I'm going to exit out of this menu. Once all outliers are removed and you're ready to run, you just click on market analysis, and that's it. It just generates all the statistics that will populate that market page. So median living area, median beds, median baths, sell price low, sell price high. And then we're going to generate graphs as well. And these are the 4 graphs that the GSEs are specifically recommending for the market section of the 3.6 report. So we just create them automatically. So they're there for you to use. And that's sell to list price ratio, absorption rate, days on market, and year built distribution. And the reason I like to bring in a 3-year look back period, even if I don't always need it, is I like to be able to cycle dynamically over here. So 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, and you can just see the data update over those different time scales. All right, so scrolling down at the bottom, I want to show you guys these 2 graphs right here. We have one for adjusted close price, one for regular close price, and these are price trend graphs. So this will be the source for extracting a time adjustment if you need one for your comparables. And again, we have linear as the default fit. You can select the polynomial fit per the GSE recommendations, and I can set that look back period. So 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, and see how that compound change adjusts over different time scales. All right, when I want to send this report information to my actual 3.6 order, I'm going to click Save to Report down here at the bottom. And now I'm going to go up to those export tools. So I'm going to click Export Market Data. I'm going to select the market area I drew. And then I'm also going to have an opportunity to address some of these required fields. You don't have to address them here. You can also address them in the report. And when you're ready, you're going to click Send to Selected Report. It's going to automatically link to the order that you launched from, but you can send this to any of the other reports on your profile or across any organizations you're a member of. So I'm going to hit Attach and Continue. We'll see that run at the bottom. And when we flip back into that market section, everything's going to be filled out. And I'll show you that in just a minute. All right, next I want to show you Aivre Adjuster. So I click on Aivre Adjuster. I'm going to select Paired Sales Analysis. You can adjust the tolerances over here on the left for the paired sales, or you can just run with the default settings. And it's going to go through that set of listings and find match pairs for you based on the main adjustment categories, and then list them in this table of results. So we have like the feature type for the adjustment over here on the left, the number of match pairs that we found, and then the range of values. So let's say we wanted to adjust for lot size. So click on lot size. It's going to show me a similarity score out of 100, and it's going to show the highest one first. So what this similarity score is indicating is how close these 2 properties are to each other outside of the one variable I'm trying to isolate, in this case, lot size, right? So it's going to show you the similarity score. It's going to show you an estimate for the lot size adjustment. It's going to show you both properties side by side and then a column with the difference in values between them. But we got feedback from appraisers saying, the highest rated similarity score is not always going to be what I want to use for my adjustment. So we list all the match pairs in descending order. You can go through, select which one makes most sense for your assignment. 77, so we can see 76 down here. And then once you have that adjustment value you want to use, we have an auto adjustment calculator back on the grid that will push it across all of your comparables. And I'm going to show you guys that in just a minute as well. All right, before we leave analytics, I want to show you guys one last thing. You can also select comps from analytics, export them out to the grid. So I showed you earlier how to add directly. This is another way that you can add comps. So I'm going to clear out the comp set down here. I'm going to pull my filters back up. And this time I'm actually going to set some parameters. So let's say I only want to see properties with a minimum of 5 bedrooms, 3 full bathrooms, and 2 half bathrooms. I'm going to click Save to Report and Apply. And there we go. So it only pulls out the listings that meet the requirements I set. I'm going to pull open my table view. I can scroll across laterally, see all the different field values. And let's say that I want to use Yorkshire and Pierce as comps. Select those 2, add selected to comp set. Again, we'll see those turn green. Now I'm going to go back up to that export area, click on Export Sales Comparables. And you do have the option to send these to this new area of 3.6, additional properties analyzed but not used. It's not a required area, but just showing you do have that option. I'm going to click on Sales Comparables and select those 2 properties. And then same thing, when I click Export, it's automatically linked to the report that I launched analytics from. but I can send these anywhere. So I'm gonna hit attach and continue. It's gonna pull up this little box if I wanna go see what those look like. So I'll click there. And if we scroll over to the right, we can see Yorkshire and Pier Street now in the grid for me as well. And then before I go through the bottom of the grid, I wanna show you guys just really quickly the market area. Right, so if you remember when we launched analytics, this was all blank and in red. Now everything's filled out, right? So I have my market bounds, I have all the statistics that were generated. This is the price trend source. So for me, it would just be real comp. And then all the graphs will go down here in the exhibit section down here at the bottom. And remember, you can still edit, right? So if you don't like this caption, you can say over 3-year trend or something like that. And then you'll notice this is another area where I can utilize that floppy disk if I want to save that to my caption database right there. All right, going back to the grid. There we go. Okay, so I mentioned to you guys, we have this auto adjustment calculator right here. So I went to the Aivre adjuster. I figured out the adjustment value I want to use based on the paired sales analysis. I come back to the grid. I will click on the wrong button, and then I will hit back, which is not a problem with us. It's very easy to recover when you hit the wrong button. That's a good thing. So right here, we'll put an auto adjustment. That's going to put this column in my grid right here. And I'll zoom in so you guys can see a little bit better. All right, and then when you scroll down, the first one that uses it is site size. So you can put in that adjustment value as a price per unit, a percentage per unit, or a flat rate. And then you can set a threshold. So you can say like within 500 units, do not apply the adjustment. In that case, that would be square feet. And if I put in like $4 right here and hit apply, we'll see that it just pushes that across all my comparables for me. All right, and that's available in the main adjustment categories right here. When you go down to the bottom, if you go all the way to the bottom row where your indicated value is placed, you can click on this calculator icon, and this is your indicated value calculator. So it distributes the weights of your comps. You can also adjust these weights, and you can see the other properties will adjust automatically to account for that. All of your adjustment values will be brought in here, so it just makes it easy for you to determine that final indicated value once you have all your comps in the grid. All right, so with the rest of our time today, guys, let's go to the report we were running on the other screen. And we're done. So we filled out 461 fields of this report before I do any manual data entry myself. And remember, that wasn't running the entire time we were on the other pages, 3 to 5 minutes for kind of a standard single family home. And this page is really important because this is going to show you on a one-to-one basis where these are actually coming from. So it's not an ambiguous data dump where you like know the 4 sources, but you don't know which went where. We can see a lot of the assignment information is tagged PDF. That's because it's coming from my sales contract and engagement letter. And that makes sense. That's where I would expect that to come from. And then I'll show you when we go down to unit interior. So all of these, except for like the first 15 or so, are from your inspection photos. So they're all tagged image out of that 192. And then dwelling exterior, kind of the same thing. So the first 20, 25 are from other sources. Rest of the 87 are from your inspection photos. Reason I'm showing you guys this, if you add up the numbers for the rest of the sections, in addition to those other supplemental documents, my guess is I would get about 275, 300 fields filled out if I was doing this on Vision versus around 450 plus doing it on Ultra. But remember, on Core, you get 0, right? So to me, depending on your workload, how many reports you want to get through, there's a lot of value in that Vision tier because jumping from 0 to 300 is a bigger jump than from 300 to 450. All right, and then to close up the demo portion, I'm going to show you guys a side-by-side of what these look like if you're running a 3.6 report without automation. And let's go to this property here in Ohio. And again, this is just a blank 3.6 order. I created it. I didn't actually do any data entry. I'm just going to show you guys down here in unit interior. And you see we got a lot of work to do, right? A lot of red. We're going to be camped out here as a data entry person for quite some time before we can start thinking analytically like an appraiser, because we just need to get everything on here. And some of these sections in 3.6, the data entry burden is intensive. So we can start here as our starting point, or we can go to Aivre Ultra, start here, and we're going to be in much better shape, right? So all of this would actually be filled out. These fields in red from the above and below finished and unfinished areas would import from my sketch. I just didn't do a sketch on this call. So all this would be filled out. If we go down here to level and room detail, it's already done, right? So level 1, you can see the den came in like I specified. You guys can kind of watch the photos: living room, dining room, breakfast room, and kitchen. If I go to B1, which is my basement level, you guys will see the utility room, the wet bar, and the rec room right here. Notice that there are drop ceilings in the rec room. So the AI is going to recognize that and map it to interior features. This is my condition and quality ratings for my kitchens and bathrooms. If Brad, the appraiser, thinks this is actually Q3 and CE3, I just change it, right? It's never going to snap back to the AI's answer. You're in full control. And you can see the commentary getting generated here from the kitchen photo. So granite counters, dark cabinets, tile backsplash. That's all computer vision. Now, when we get down to flooring and interior features, it sees hardwood, ceramic tile, and carpet in this property. Going to show you example photos of each. If I go into wall and ceiling information, I have 8-foot ceiling heights, flat and drop ceiling styles. That's why I showed you guys that drop ceiling photo, because the AI saw that and said, oh, that's a unique ceiling style. Let me map it down to interior features as well. And that's why we're kicking butt with turnaround time right now, guys, because we're coming into some of these sections of a very data entry intensive report, 85, 90% filled out. You change what you want to change, fill out the rest, and move on to the next section. Everybody else is going to be coming in somewhere like this. And if you're not on a modern platform like ours, it's not even going to look this good. It's not going to be intuitive and web-based. And it's not going to save you nearly as much time. We're seeing turnaround times with Aivre 1 hour once people get used to the platform. Even people that aren't particularly tech savvy, we're seeing them get down to 2-3 hours. Pretty night and day compared to the competition right now. All right, Nate, I think that's we'll close the main demo portion, open up for a little bit of Q&A.
Perfect. We have different questions here right now. I'll just start at the top. First one is kind of going back to the beginning when you were first demoing everything. The question is the AI photo labeling on core?
It is not. So the AI photo labeling is vision and ultra only. Core is really just like, it's kind of a non-automated product, but on Core, you do have some AI features. We just don't really advertise it as such. But if you look over here, like Aivre, the AI agent, that's a Core feature. Being able to use the AI to help with importing your CSVs and disambiguating the column headers, that's a Core feature. So there are some AI tools built in. I do not believe that the photo mapping is one of them, though, because that uses computer vision. So that's vision and ultra only.
Yep. Aivre Mobile is a part of it. So if someone is in an area where they don't have service, there's an offline mode on Aivre Mobile. So if you lose service and you're still in the middle of your inspection, don't worry about that. When you get back to your laptop or your desktop, it'll auto-populate those photos or that sketch there. Another question here is, and that's in Core, sorry, just to reiterate that. Another question here is for you, Brad. If Ultra is connected to our MLS, why the need for the CSV file?
There are a number of reasons why we decided to go with the CSV import. One of the biggest ones is to make this accessible in all areas. We have rural appraisers, a good number of rural appraisers that use our platform. They're able to do so because they're not relying on a direct MLS pull. Another big thing is, and I know this will never happen in a million years, but sometimes MLS records are incorrect. They might contain a inflated square footage or something like that. No idea why that happens, but when you bring it into Aivre by CSV, you're decoupling that comp from your MLS. So you can fix the value, save it to your database, and when you bring it back in, it's not going to pull the wrong values all over again. It's your saved comp that's already on the platform.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Another question here is, do the maps pull the FEMA map number, zone, etc.?
No, and so the need to do hazard mapping is very different in 3.6. Flood maps are no longer on the appraisal. It's not the appraiser's responsibility. You can indicate the answer if you know, but the lender has that information. And so that's actually a change in 3.6 from 2.6. It's not an Aivre specific thing.
Okay, thank you for that. Another question here is, how do you join other organizations outside of your own office, that is? So I kind of respond in the chat for them, but can you also elaborate that? If someone has an organization, they can also share certain information from the report to other appraisers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that you join an organization, you do have to be invited by the owner or someone who is designated as an owner in that organization. And I can take you guys there really quick and show you how that works. We're having a lot more groups starting to utilize organizations as we keep heading towards mandate. They've had great success. We're really excited about it. And we're going to keep building more features in here as well. But if I go to Brad Inc., so this is one that I created. Ivory Test Org is one created by Jordan. So I can't, like invite anybody to that one. But I can go to Brad Inc. I can click on settings. And then if there's another Ivory user that I'm friends with, want to invite them to my org, I just click right there. And then this is where you can assign their level of permission. So trainee, staff appraiser, admin, and owner. And you just send them an invitation using the email address that they created their account with.
Awesome. Thank you. Another question here is, in the future, will Ivory integrate with existing market analysis tools such as TrueTracks? I responded in the chat saying that we are in conversations right now with TrueTracks and Spark, but definitely if you guys can keep advocating, if you are currently using them or know people there, keep advocating for us to go ahead and have that partnership. We are definitely for integrating some of those tools. So that is something we definitely want to adopt here in the future. It's a two-way street. We definitely need both parties to come together. So, yep,
Yep.
great
And one
question.
other thing I'll add on top of that, Nate, is we're not done. We're still technically in beta, even though we're submitting live orders and we're in an excellent position leading up to mandate. We're adding new features all the time, and analytics is not going to be isolated from that. Once we get more feedback, different adjustment methods, things like that, those are going to be built into analytics as well. So that's not the final version of it, right? Like it's functional. We're submitting live orders with very little revisions, but we're going to make it better.
Yep, thank you for that. Another question here is there any ability in the mapping to do map based on other fields to estimate items such as basement square footage that is not readily available? Or are there options to help correct errors made by realtors based on the information that is available?
Yeah, I mean, so if you, I guess in analytics, that's a little bit trickier. I don't think you can edit data when you're bringing it into analytics or edit a row. Um, I know you can edit it when you bring it into the comp database, but I don't think you can change a record in analytics necessarily. Sorry, Nate, what was the first part of that question?
The first part was, is there any ability in the mapping to do map based on other fields to estimate items such as basement square footage that's not readily available?
So again, whatever is in the CSV export is what we're going to be able to read in on our side. So whatever your MLS has available, we're going to be able to read in. If that's a field that your MLS has, we can read it in. But if it's not on the MLS, we can't just invent data, right? So it has to exist for us to be able to bring it in.
And then another question here is, how does the AI, or sorry, does the AI measure the front door height?
It does actually, yeah. It's funny how often that question comes up, but it's
Yeah.
like street to front door height. I know because it's a weird thing to try to measure, in my opinion. So I get why it's being asked about. I think it's going to be in this one. Let's go down to that area. Yeah, right there. So front door elevation, 1 to 2 feet. So it'll get that. It'll get
Okay.
ceiling heights as well.
Okay. Awesome. Um, and then another question here is, how does Sketch work in Ivory? Can you kind of elaborate a little bit on that? And I will drop in. Um, if you guys aren't already a user, you can sign in and go to the how to section, and it's in there. But I will also drop in our Ivory Studios YouTube if you are not a user right now, paid or unpaid. I just mean user as in you have an account on Ivory. I will drop in the link in there so you can see our sketch video. We just did a full sketch demo that was last week, believe it or not. So I will drop that in the chat for you guys here shortly.
Perfect. And then, yeah, I can navigate there really quick and just show you guys generally how it works. The mobile app has Sketch in the mobile app, so you have a sketching portal. We're going to be bringing LiDAR to the platform. We're having conversations about integrating with that right now. And we're looking at additional integrations even beyond LiDAR for Sketch. But what I like to do is do a quick sketch in the field, get what I need to get. When I get back to the computer, same sketch I did in the field is going to appear on the computer. So I can open it up on the desktop version and add any details I want when I don't have a property owner breathing down my neck. And I'll show you what that looks like. So I can launch Sketch right here. Sorry, relaunch. And mobile sketch looks basically identical. We're also going to be making more demo content for mobile sketch and the mobile app in general. So we have a lot of good videos up there already, and more are going to be coming. I wonder if Jordan's pushing something through right now, Nate. Let me go to the main site.
Okay.
So guys, sometimes this is the fun part of being in beta. Jordan and his team might be adding some new features or fixing something, and that will affect us when we're going to reports. But obviously, that's not going to be something that impacts you guys. I was just on the staging site. Sometimes it affects the staging site. Let's go to Sketch. Oh, is this a GPAR? That's a GPAR. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so whatever I did in the field is also going to appear here. I can select the pencil, and it's just a really easy to use sketching module. You have a keyboard control or mouse control. If you like using the keyboard, you can go to this question mark area. It'll show you all the quick keys we have for navigating through Sketch. We have a lot of them. And you can also just use mouse control, which personally I like to do. And the grid paper, you can enable snapping and set the snapping tolerances. You can draw your shapes, indicate whether it's above grade, below grade, finished or unfinished, right? We can do another little room off to the side here. And then we'll call this one unfinished. We'll say that's like a garage. And you have your name labels over here and images as well. So you can add, doors, things like that to the image. And let's go to the labels. So this is how you define I just defined my area. So above grade, below grade, finished or unfinished. Then I have these labels. So I can tag that as a bedroom. I can tag this as a garage. And then save that as an exhibit. And then when I go back out into the report, that's going to be an exhibit in the sketch area. And also that's how you pull over those area fields. So once I'm done specifying everything above grade, below grade, finished or unfinished, those areas in unit interior won't be red anymore. They'll be populated.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Brad. Three more questions real quick as we kind of come here top of the hour, and then we'll kind of go into showing them how to set up their profile. So that then when they're doing a report, makes it, cuts down the time there, makes it even more simplified. Question is, are we anti-certified? Yes, we are. That is correct. Yes, we are. To the person that asked that. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it's ANSI certified, but yes, we are.
Yep, and I can show you that too, Nate. So you can keep going,
Perfect.
Nate. I'll just show them visually.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just right here. This is where you can select your measurement standard.
Thank you. And then last two questions is one is, can you pull in a sketch from a legacy software? Can you elaborate on that, Brad? Because that's kind of a yes and no question in a sense, right? So yeah.
Yeah. So the answer is yes. I can add an exhibit. And if I want to just use an existing sketch as an image file for my exhibit here in the sketch section, I can do that. I can just add it here. And again, PNG, JPEG, WebP, HEIC, PDF, like pretty much any version you got. The only caveat with adding just an image file is it's not going to populate those area fields like I just described to you. So when you're making the sketch in our platform, it will pull those over. If you're just adding an image, that's not a vector-based file, so it's not going to know what those areas are. But you can use it as your exhibit. At the end of the day, that's the answer. And like I said, Nate mentioned too, we're looking at more integrations, bringing some other tech to the platform. So if we have integrations with some of those existing sketch platforms, we will be able to read those files organically instead of just an image.
Yeah, thanks. That's why I wanted you to elaborate, because it is a yes, we can definitely pull in sketch from a legacy software, but it just depends on how it's coming in. So
yeah.
Thank you. And then last question here is, since you gave the example of an adjustment for lot size based on square foot adjustment, how can you alter this based on the site's utility, usable site area for the subject and or comps?
Sorry, can you say the question one more time? I have a feeling this is going to be probably an email me question, but
yeah, it's a little more detailed. The question is, since you gave the example of an adjustment for lot size based on a square foot adjustment, how can you alter this based on the site's utility, usable site area for the subject and or comps?
So you want to alter the unit? I guess I'm a little confused about the question. My email is going to be in the chat, so if you
Yep.
wouldn't mind me sending me that question, I'll make sure that I get you a detailed answer after the demo's closed.
Perfect. Awesome. Last one, I think it's a quick one for you. It's just a yes or no. Can you segregate usable and non-usable areas or not usable areas?
Again, I'm not exactly sure what that language is. Is that like 3.6 language, usable and unusable? I haven't heard that mentioned before.
Uh, Todd, can you go ahead and elaborate a little bit more? You can unmute yourself too. As he's doing that, Brad, do you want to go ahead and switch over?
Yeah, so guys, that was kind of the end of the main demo portion of what we're going to do today. So we appreciate you guys hanging out. If you wanted to stay and see how to create your free account with us, just hang out. I'm going to stop sharing right now, and then I'll start sharing again in just like 30 seconds here. We'll go right to the main website, and you guys can go to the main site as well and follow along if you would like. Just aivre.com, right? And I'm sure Nate has that in the chat. So aivre.com. And then I'm going to share my screen and we'll go through that. Everybody, if you've already created an account and that was all you wanted to watch, just thank you for your time. We really appreciate you making the time to join us. Appreciate the feedback, and just keep kicking the tires on Aivre and let us know what you think.
And then last thing is, as you're doing that, Brad, for the last couple of questions that trickled in, for the last three about sharing sketches or segregate usable and not usable areas and the lot size. I just dropped in Brad's email. So go ahead and send Brad an email. He'll be able to answer your question a little bit more specific and detailed, and he'll get back to you. So that way we can address it exactly to what you're going ahead and asking about, and we can address those needs. So thank you guys all. And then Brad, I'll let you kind of go through the onboarding aspect and the profile setup.
Perfect. All right, I'm going to start sharing my screen again, guys. So again, if you want to go to aivre.com so you can follow along, you're more than welcome to do that. All right, so I'm just on an incognito site because I've used like every email I've ever had in my life to create accounts as we're testing. So mine might look a little bit different from you guys, but I'll tell you exactly where it differs. I'm just going to aivre.com. So this is the main page. You guys are going to go over here to create report. And this is where you can select your login method, right? So I use Google. I work a lot in Google Workspaces, so I just use my Google account. You have that option. You can also use the sign in with Apple option right here to link your iTunes account, and then email and password. That's always an option as well. You will want to make an email and password in addition to whatever one of these logins you select, because that's how you sync with the mobile app. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to select login with Google. And I'm going to put in my email. And it's going to prompt me for password. And now I'm in. So that just created my account. The pop-up for you guys, if you've never been on the site before, is going to be a little bit different. So the pop-up right here is actually going to be that prompt I mentioned during the main demo portion, where it's going to say, welcome to Aivre. It's going to ask if you want to go to the profile to join the Slack community. I strongly recommend doing that just from the beginning. Like right when you log in, just fill that profile out, join the Slack channel. Again, Slack is how you get live support from our support team. And when you have the profile populated, that is how we're able to populate the appraisal section of each report with your information, so you don't have to. So that's what you guys are going to see, and I'll just go straight to that area. So again, initials, so first, last, or combination up here in the top, you go to your profile, and we'll just I'll take my time walking through this if anybody is following along. You put in your personal information up here at the top. And then this is where you can put in also, if you're a VA appraiser, FHA appraiser, you can put in your IDs right there. If you have any professional designations, we have a whole list of professional designations right here on the left. And then street address. This is for company site. Oh, it's like IFA, yep. And then company name, company address right here. And then this is where you can add your credentials. So I'll click add. You just select the level. So I'm a trainee, but you have all the other levels. We also have other if you have some other type of professional cert. And then ASC identifier. You can also add an image right here if you would like to have that appear as well. Client and non-client contacts. So this is where you can add those professional entities that you interact with as you're going through assignments. So role 1, role 2, client versus non-client, and then it's the AMC, attorney, investor, but you always have the other option as well. And then I know you can't see it here because this account isn't a member of any organizations, but just remember you have the ability to create contacts just for yourself and also contacts that you share with others in your org. This is where you can add your insurance policy. So it's just expiration date and then an image of your insurance. And then this is where you add your MLS board. So MLS board name and MLS number. So again, I use RealComp. There it is. Select that and just put in my MLS number right there. You can also add additional MLS boards. So when we run the model, it'll search each one. It'll figure out which one your subject property is in, and it'll go from that one, but it will check all of them each time. Okay, this is templates. So once I start saving templates, this is where those will appear. I'll actually show you guys really quickly on my, see if I can get that in there. So I'm going to go into a report. I just want to show you guys how you can create these. So once you have a completed report, you just go up here, create new, click create template, and that's how you save those. And again, same thing, you can save them to your personal profile, you can share them across an organization, and you can select to either make it new or to overwrite one that's already in there. So just wanted to show you that really quick. We'll come back to the other side. All right, going back up in the profile. So we just left off at templates, and then again, digital signature right here. If you type out your signature, it's going to like stylize it for you. You can also draw. So I'm just using my mouse and try to draw a B without embarrassing myself too much. Not bad. All right, and then upload signature. So if you have an image of your signature, you can just add it digitally, and it'll add that to the reports. And then down here, these are some of the kind of just settings for your profile. One of the things I do want to point out is two-factor authentication. So 2FA right here. You can enable this. To enable 2FA, you want to have an authenticator app. So what two-factor authentication actually is, it means that it's that basically after you put in your email and password, it's sending a code to the authenticator app to verify that it's actually you. So it'll like say, hey, what's the code on your app? Usually these apps are on phones or tablets. You open that up, it'll show you the code. You put that code in and that unlocks your account so you can get in. It's just an added layer of security. And some of the apps, Duo, Google has its own authenticator app. So you guys are more than welcome to use that. It's definitely a good idea for just keeping your account secure. And if you're an organization owner, so if you own a company, you have other people working for you and you create an org, you can make it a requirement for your whole organization to use two-factor authentication as well. And then last two things I'll show you down here, marketing and communication. So you can use this to opt in or opt out. One thing I'll mention is we don't send you guys a ton of like really salesy marketing emails, but we do send out a lot of notifications about webinars like this. So like the Aivre Talk series on Wednesdays, we're going to be building new Aivre Talk series as well, coming very soon. So being opted into that, you'll see those notifications so that you can register. And then appraiser directory. This basically allows you to tell AMCs that you're ready to accept a 3.6 order. If you opt into that, you'll have that visibility. And we've had people be able to source orders by opting into that as well.
Yeah, and if I can elaborate on that real quick, Brad.
Yeah, go for
it. When it comes to the directory, we've definitely been hearing from banks and AMCs that they are looking and wanting appraisers who are ready for 3.6. And so this is something that we kind of took their feedback there and took the appraiser feedback from you guys, our community, talking about how they want, to go ahead and start receiving live orders, right? And so this is something kind of we try to bridge the gap on, create it for you guys together. Yeah, we've gotten really good feedback. The MCs and bankers are loving it, but it's something to bring both parties together.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Nate. All right, guys. So that was the full demo for today. I appreciate everyone who hung out to create your free account. And like I kind of mentioned before, the best thing to do to get familiar with the new workflow is just practice. Just run test reports. You're not going to break it. You saw I clicked wrong buttons once or twice today. I think my hands might have been a little bigger than usual even. And you saw I just hit back, get right back to where I was. So you're not going to crash it. You're not going to break it. And just like many things, tactile learning is the best way. It's we were taking these classes for 3.6 and hearing the conceptual ideas, and that's all great. You need to get something in your hands and actually start using it, and we're providing that for our community.
Brad, one quick thing is, can you just pull up the Slack link from the account and open it in a new browser? We have a question here, so they can see that aspect real quick.
Yep, so there's two ways to access Slack. One of them is down here. So you just click on Join Slack on the headphones. You can also access it from support. So this is the same portal that'll take you into that Slack channel.
If you click on it, it should open up a new tab.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you just say, so
Okay.
I have it on my desktop, so it's going to ask me if I want to open it on desktop.
Yep.
But you can just say use in browser as well, and that just pulls it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Perfect.
So there's awesome. Everybody's working.
Thanks for that. Appreciate
it.
Yep. Yeah. So Slack is easiest way to get in touch with us. You can also do exactly what Brad was saying on the report if you're currently working on something, or if you're on the support center. So there's multiple ways to go ahead and get in touch with us. And like he was saying, our Ivory Talks, for those of you that are going to be new users testing on the platform, Ivory Talks is a weekly series where we break down specific components, specific sections of the report. One thing we'll be rolling out here soon is a new A to Z component for our Ivory Talks. And what I mean by A to Z is we have heard from you guys that you guys want us to break down more full, very beginning, bare bones, all the way to completing a report zip file. And so that's what we will be rolling out here soon and making it available free for everyone. It's going to be a webinar where each week we literally go through from A to Z the actual report. So just be in tune for that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Brad, anything else?
That's all for me. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you taking the time. You got my email in the chat. Let us know if you need anything. Take care.
Thanks, guys.